have love, so that you're not just preaching truth and discipline. It says, I'm become a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I speak the languages of men and of angels, but I do not have love, I am a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. And so I can be unloving. If I feel an atmosphere where I'm being mocked and made fun of and put down, you're probably not going to find me a loving person. So that's okay. In order for us to be loving, to describe someone who is gifted but unloving. To be gifted and unloving. I've seen it time and time again. Every church I've ever stepped foot on has been unkind and unloving towards addiction, towards the lost, towards people who've lived a life of sin, to people who listen to heavy metal music, to people who are rough and rugged and had a hard life. The church has been unloving. But if you're coming out of the suburbs and you have a good reputation and you'd like to try church out for the first time, and you arrive at church in your suburban, you will receive a warm welcome from the church with no discrimination or biased love or judgmental eyes. But if you come from the darkness and you come into the fellowship and you don't receive a warm welcome from a church, and you don't feel like the church is capable of loving somebody like you, let me remind you that God has come to save sinners. God has come to save the lost, the people who know that they're a sinner, not the righteous. And let me tell you, man, Jesus came for the people at the party, for the people drinking, for the people with problems, for the people on welfare, for the people who are poor, for the people who are treated unfairly by others in power over them. Jesus is the great equalizer. Because with great riches comes great sorrow. But when you're poor and broke and have nothing, why are kids who have no laptop or phone in Mexico happier playing soccer than most Americans? Let me tell you, their overall nationwide happiness is higher. But now we see there's a lot of other stuff involved. But poverty, God is a great equalizer, man. Let me tell you, He really is. So, question number 3, how does verse 5 compare with our modern idea of loving yourself? What would Paul say about that concept in light of this passage? Verse 5, let's go back. How does verse 5, loving yourself? What would Paul say about that concept? Okay. Verse 5. Or 4:5 is, love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, love is not boastful, is not conceited, does not act improperly, is not selfish, is not provoked, does not keep a record of wrongs. I feel like selfish, the description selfish is variable, because a poor kid whose parents struggle to put food on the table sees somebody from our neighborhood. Everybody has a smartphone, access to the internet, TV, those things. It's kind of like you might be perceived by as being selfish for having all these things and not helping them who are in need, so but for me it's like by my peers, I'm being made fun of because they're above me. So it's like wait a minute, I'm just trying to be on like a neutral platform, but to be neutral, I'm still less than them but above them. You see, there's this like, wait a minute, I didn't realize that I had made $60,000 running Uber Eats 12 hours a day for a whole year. I didn't realize that's what I was making. I was just going to work at 3, delivering food, eating 3 meals a day, putting gas in the car, paying insurance, and just using the extra money to like build websites and do business when I was home and changing out drum cymbals on my drum set. It wasn't like I was competing with anybody. I was just living and doing what I thought was right. But then when tax season came, it was like, he made $60,000, and it was like I didn't actually like get a suitcase full of $60,000 and go blow it at the mall. It was like a daily 200, and it went to 3 meals and a bill every day. It was like a credit card payment every day, and it was just like a domino, kind of like well, okay, so let's go back. I'm getting off topic. It says, what would Paul say about that concept in light of this passage? He would say that love is forgiving, and it does not keep a record of wrong and is not provoked. If I love you, and I've done this, I've loved my friends so much, and I cared about them. I called them. I invited them over to every birthday, to every event. I invited friends. I would even risk getting yelled at by my father when I was younger, who would get pissed that he can't feed the whole neighborhood. And I'd be like, I just need, my friend is with me, spending the night, and they would say yes. And I would get yelled at, but it would be like, I was doing it out of love for my friends, to try to hang out with them and play video games with them all night. And let me tell you, I probably could be more forgiving, but let me tell you, man, it takes a lot for me to finally be like, you really don't respect me as a friend. And I'd have to say goodbye. And it would hurt me more than it would hurt them, because they were like, I was never really your friend in the first place. I've been stealing from you since day one. I've slept with your girlfriend. I've used drugs with your girlfriend. I stole clothes from you, CDs from you. I blocked blessings from you, and they would come and they would lie about money that they had and wouldn't share. And I'd be splitting my last $20 for us to do something together, and they'd have money the whole time and they wouldn't care. Not one bit, and I'd finally have to come to the realization where it was like, dude, like, this is it, man. This is the end of our friendship. And I just said goodbye, man. And it hurt me, because like, I cherished most all of my friendships, man, no matter who it was, but love, you got to have some boundaries. But there was never a time that I didn't love my friends and care about them and wanted the best for them. But they saw me as some kind of competition that they had to beat, and they wouldn't come with me to church, where I was being made fun of and mocked and put down for being poor and having a family that had a divorce. Those things, were put on me every Sunday and Wednesday that I attended service. I would go to home Bible studies and people would be like, ew, he's gross. He comes from a poor family. You know, he comes from a home with a single mom. He has no future. You know, they would treat me that way. And so when I would try to become like nice hat and a nice shirt, I didn't realize I was just trying to be neutral with the people in my congregation. I had no intention of besting my friends, but my friends kept seeing me as I'm trying to be better than them. So it was like, it was never a mutual friendship. It was never, hey man, I think you're cool and I just want to hang out with you. It was never about that. It was always about, what can I get from him? What can I steal from him? What can I manipulate out of him to make his life as hard as mine has been? So let's see. Does not act